Hi, this is the Evolved Educator Podcast. Each episode, we talk about education and teaching. Our goal is for you to feel part of the community, and we want to learn from you, and we hope that you learn something from us too. So, welcome. Today, we're going to talk about supporting the development of strong communication skills. I'm Jennifer.
I'm Michelle.
I'm Chanmi.
So we're going to be talking about communication skills today, and we know, obviously, if today's students want to compete in this global society, we need to become proficient communicators and creators and critical thinkers and collaborators, right?
Oh, right. The 4 C's, right.
So we know there's been this sort of rapid increase in jobs involving these 21st century skills.
And I mean, now more than ever, we as educators must complement all the subjects we teach with the 4 C's in order to prepare the students for citizenship and the global workforce.
Right. So that brings us to our segment today. That's an excellent point. I totally agree with you on that.
So, I need more of that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, and we've said this so many times, research supports the fact that these 4 C's, these 21st century skills, are really central to success in school and work and life in general. And I see the importance of all of them. But personally, like for me, the communication one is the one that really sort of connects them all. It's sort of the umbrella, I feel like. And specifically the speaking and the listening portion of it.
Absolutely. I agree with you on that. That's an excellent point. Obviously we use speaking and listening for literally everything. And
right.
If we say listening, we don't mean hearing. We mean actually like listening and processing and understanding what people are saying.
Exactly. So recently, well, actually not even recently, it's been pretty consistent. Research continues to show that young people who are entering the workforce now are lacking in this particular area. And so, the question is at this point, what can teachers really do to help develop this skill, this speaking and listening skill, or these skills?
Well, I think it's important that we clarify the terms communication and speaking because they're often used synonymously, and communication can't be effective unless the message is received and understood. So listening is that other part of communication, like Michelle added. It is a 2-part process.
Right.
So first, acknowledging that and understanding those clearly is a start, and then we need to just understand that speaking and listening are equally important.
Absolutely. So students need to practice every single day in every single content area in as many contexts as possible. But that's really harsh. That's really hard. I know that like on our report cards, speaking and listening is something that's supposed to be assessed and the students get a grade for it, but a lot of teachers don't even know what to do. So or how to do that. So what can teachers do to provide students with this practice that they need every day so that they are gaining these skills? Forget about the grade, but they need to be getting the skill.
Right.
So what can teachers do? What do you think?
Well, for me, when planning, I always include an oracy piece in every lesson. Doesn't matter what content area, but it's just built into my lesson planning at some point in the lesson. There are places where I can model, clear communication, or the students can practice that clear speech sort of freely and use speech that's free of idioms and slang and really just practice this active listening. It's very deliberately placed within every lesson. There's got to be an opportunity in every lesson for kids to be able to talk and listen.
Right. And to connect and to expand a little bit more on what you just mentioned, Jennifer, to say that like a teacher really needs to model explicitly and to practice what clear communication looks like and sounds like. So, students, they can't practice what they don't know. And so it's one of those things where if speaking and listening is the main activity, then use sentence frames to model like what do you say and for what reason and what purpose. And so it's understanding that not everything is going to be written or handed in, so you need to be able to clearly communicate orally.
Right.
So you just made that comment about the kids can't practice what they don't know. So they need to understand the class expectations for speaking and listening. And that needs to be explicitly told to them, even, and they need to have opportunities to take on ownership. So how can we do that? I know that after a while for speaking and listening, I would create rubrics. And even after using rubrics for a while that I created, then I had the students help create the rubrics. And then they could assess themselves. And that was really useful, and it was good for the students. The other thing, like I know when I first started teaching, one way I would try to include speaking and listening would have like, a presentation. But then I learned that keeping the communication very short and focused, even just as short as 1 minute, and then adding on time as the kids become more confident and comfortable, that really helped a lot. And so then the kids get better and they gain technique.
Right.
And I think it's also a good idea to show different kinds of communication. So you can show videos. You can even vary the types of groups, grouping. So they either work in partners or they work in trios, etc. But they need to kind of see the different contexts in which they apply their speaking and listening. And so I think when they focus on that thing, what the speaker is doing and saying, what this listener is doing, then they understand how to apply their speaking and listening.
Right. Well, and you had mentioned this earlier too, the accountable talks, like the sentence stems, and providing them with conversation, frames and things like that to get them started. A lot of times I'll just introduce one and say, we're going to practice this one this week. We're going to be really trying to use this one and work it into our conversations. And then next week we're going to add another one and another one. And pretty soon they have a whole pocket full of them to choose from, and they get pretty good at it. But introducing those, one or two at a time, and then just really letting them practice using those stems is a really easy way to get them comfortable,
Right. You know what? I just remembered that on our website, we have a list of things that teachers can do to help integrate speaking and listening into every subject, including, math and science. I just remembered we have that. So
yeah, that's a good resource.
This has been on our minds for a while.
What do you think the lesson here is?
I think it's that students need a lot of explicit instruction and practice communicating clearly in all content areas across the board. And that communication is a two-part process that is speaking and listening. They're equally important in the classroom and in life in general.
I totally agree with you on that.
Me too. Great point.
So that brings us to our segment, Strategies That Get the W. So, every time we like to send our listeners off with a goodie, strategy that they can use in their classroom right now. What do you have for us, Jennifer?
This is one of my favorites. I know you guys have done this before, and I use it all the time. Fishbowl.
Yes.
I think it's just so awesome. And there's so many ways to do it. I use it a lot for novel study and book club when the kids are first learning to have those group discussions. And, the kids are seated in the middle and everyone's just watching so intently around, the outside. And then we really talk about what we saw the speakers do and what we saw the listeners do and body language and all that stuff. And it's so engaging for them. The kids love to participate in it. And sometimes it's excruciatingly painful at the beginning when they're just kind of sitting there in silence, not knowing what to say. And then the conversation starts to unfold and they just get better and better at it. Really promotes active listening, and the kids get to reflect on their discussion techniques and practice. It's just so many great benefits of it.
Yes, I started doing that. I remember I learned from Chanmi way back when. Yep, it's a good one.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all we have for today. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.